you hear the children. This is a kind of a traditional place here in Bali, where we've both come, and this is Rahul, by the way.
Yes, hi.
And I've been here for the last couple of months, and it's been culture is something that really interests me because it's the container in which we live. You know, especially as people who are interested in coaching know that people move in their environments. You know, the spiritual ideal in many ways is that, you know, it begins with you, and that's very true, inside out. But you also need your support from your environment. It's very helpful. So I originally realized that when I lived in Tibetan Buddhist monasteries, maybe a long time ago. Anyway, but and I remember reading Ken Wilber, and he talked about the I, the we, and the it corresponding with aspects like aspects of how you can come at the truth.
Yeah.
The same as the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. It's like you get support from within, from without, and between us.
Yep.
And so culture is critical in that regard. And you know, in many ways, what I teach is very similar to what Ken Wilber's saying in that integral respect. He's saying, look, let's come at this like the Tibetans do, from every angle.
Yeah.
There's certain traditions that say, let's just hit it from this one spot. But the Tibetans have this multifaceted process, multi-level thing going on. And this is why the Buddha and Dhamma and Sangha is the classic expression of that. And so, you know, in the end, on the highest level, it's all good, it's all fine. The times of suffering, the times of being constricted end up to be revealed as being okay, and that you're safe in the end when it all comes down to it. But, you know, as people, we want to escape from that bondage. And in this day and age, you know, Western civilization, modernity has some question marks over it in a sense. You know, there are a lot of unhappy people. Feeling quite kind of hemmed in, and you notice that you come to a place like I moved between India and now Bali and Australia and US, and to see the national characters and Europe as well, you know, very, very interesting process to see the distinctions between people. But Bali is incredible like that, like a classic example of a traditional culture. You know how they do those surveys and they say, they find out that, isn't it paradoxical? It's like all the poor people are the happiest on the happiness scale. So how does that work? You know, it doesn't even it blow most of our paradigms out the water just like that, right? Because we all just assume, well, we have to have more stuff, right?
Right.
That's what our whole economic society is geared around, right? But Bali even goes beyond that. You know, I was in Australia before this, and if you said to people, like, the very idea of spirituality is like, you know, they just think they've thrown it out and it's all gone. You know, I'm generally speaking about the culture. And yet, if I went to Australia and I said, you know, the Balinese people make offerings to the gods every morning. Yeah, they'd say, well, the gods, you know, science hasn't proven that the gods exist. Why they're just doing superstitious stuff, blah, blah, blah. It couldn't possibly work. Well, I tell you, look around these people, you see happy people, happy, open people. I walk down the streets of most Western cities, and people are doing their absolute level best to make sure that they never look me in the eye under any circumstances, right? And that is a profound source of sadness to me, and I feel it being in most Western countries. The collective sadness that produces that level of fear and closeness. So it's an absolute joy to be in a place like this, where people they just open up to you instantly. Instantly.
Yeah.
It's so attractive.
Yeah.
And, you know, does it mean that the gods don't exist? It doesn't even matter whether the gods exist. The fact is that it is a deep psychological move. This has been known by every spiritual culture forever. That every culture makes offerings, and we're too smart to do it. Okay, you know, you make offerings. It's a gesture of humility. It's a gesture of seeing the higher power, as you might see in the 12-step process, and it's just seeing yourself in a wider perspective, which in many ways is much of what spirituality is. It's to zoom out from the perspective of your little person bubble that you think is so important, when in fact, it's not at all.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, you as God are ultimately relevant. You as a person, you're not relevant at all. You're not. You're,
Right, just
you're
like one of these
blip.
ants.
Nobody even knows you. Who knows you
Gone.
exist?
Right.
Yeah, and the best you could do is get a handful of people to know you exist. Wow, big deal. You know?
Right. Still nothing.
That's the
in
truth.
Yeah.
That's the best we can do in this life.
Right.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just the very, think of God as a concept. Think of it as life. Just think of it as a concept of the everything, of the life that is. You know, I mean,
Everything.
yeah. It's the same reason why, you know, even Goenka would put crap on who's the man who does the Vipassana, which is a very prominent, positive, popular thing in the West, and he would spend half his lectures bad-mouthing people like praying to gods. Okay, well, I can tell you that I know from prayer, for instance, even though it sounded like a really weird thing to do when I was growing up in a Christian culture, it's just a deep psychological relationship with something that is perfect. It's quite simple. Even in yogic path, like was it pratyahara, the fifth thing above physical asanas, is where do you put your attention? Everybody in India knows that. Every guru's known that. It's like you become what you put your attention on. So why wouldn't you relate to the concept of God? Oh, the science hasn't proven that God's there. You know, I believe. You know, anybody who says that they know that God doesn't exist. Well, first of all, you've got to redefine God. You know, people are walking around with the white beard thing.
Right.
Yeah. Separate from the universe. Well, if God is infused in the universe, then obviously he's here. Even if he doesn't think about this, this could all have its own logic and truth to it, just because it's a singularity. We have to be thrown back by the structure of the universe to what is real. So you don't even have to have a God the way that you've been told he is.
Yeah.
God is life, has its own self-cleaning mechanism.
Yeah.
Or as Nisargadatta says, like you pick up your rubbish.
There's a humility.
Exactly,
in
and any culture that preserves the concept of God is not an ignorant culture.
Yes.
And all you have to do is see one. You know, in Australia, after some of the political issues with Indonesia, they think that they're bad people.
Yeah.
Up here, it's so wrong. These people are the happiest culture I've seen anywhere on the planet. Even more than India. It's another subject altogether.
Yeah. Yeah.